And Loren, $300,000 for healthcare. It's a staggering number.
It's a staggering number, and that doesn't even include long-term care costs, which is a concern of a lot of pre-retirees and retirees. We just saw a study, Molly, recently that addresses the long-term care costs from 65 and beyond. It was anywhere between $100,000 and upwards to $170,000 a year for long-term care, added on to just traditional health care costs. So as somebody looking to go to retirement and hopefully stay retired for 20 to 30 years, you look at these numbers, you see these studies and say, how am I ever going to pay for all of this? Because that's just the health care, long-term care, but you still want to have fun. You still want to travel, you still want to see the grant, you still want to do all these things which cost money as well. So it's kind of mind-boggling to think about how are you going to afford all of these different things you want to do and all of these different things that you have to do. And this is where the retirement planning really comes into play, not only to help guide you to those answers, but also make you feel really good about the position that you're in and have confidence in these decisions you have to make.
Yeah, so we talk about why it is so expensive. And the study that we're quoting is a Fidelity study. They talk about people living longer. They talk about healthcare costs rising quicker than general inflation. You know that if you're going to the doctor right now, whether you're retired or not. And the other thing that's a little bit surprising, Loren, is the average retirement age. It's younger than I would have guessed.
Yeah, the average retirement age is around 62, depending upon whether you're male or female. But it is younger than most people think, especially when we look at the open health care insurance costs. A lot of people think that prevents people from retiring prior to Medicare age, which is 65, but on average, people are retiring prior to that. And there's a lot that goes into it. Some people, they want to and are able to retire prior to that. Some people are forced into retirement, whether it's because the employer forces them into retirement, they eliminate their position, or because of health issues where they can't work anymore. So there's a lot that goes into that number, but the one thing that everybody has in common is they still have expenses. They still have these grand expenses they have to figure out a way to pay for, and that's what we have to figure out.
And there is a lot that goes into retirement. Today we're going to focus on just one of the guiding principles, but I think it's worth kind of setting it up that if you're getting close to retirement, maybe in retirement, there's really 5 pieces that you need to kind of have in place. Again, today we're just going to focus on one. We're
going to focus on one, but what we're going to find, even though we're focusing on one, is we're going to cover some of these other different principles because they're all related. What you do from a healthcare standpoint, I mean, you need to figure out how to pay for this $300,000. Well, how you do that has a lot to do with how you structure your income plan. And how you structure your income plan has a lot to do with how you structure your investment plan and your tax plan. So those are the 5 guiding principles: income planning, tax planning, healthcare, long-term care planning, legacy planning, and investment planning. They're all interrelated, and the decisions you make on one of those will impact the others. But healthcare today is a big concern.
And just kind of an overarching conversation about healthcare. So I hear numbers like $300,000, that's a lot of money. Any way you slice it, I don't care what you have saved for retirement, $300,000 is a lot of money. Do you find that once you write this all into a plan, it doesn't feel like quite as much money because you can also see how, yeah, there's a piece over here for that trip you wanted to take, here's a piece for that second home? Or does it really take a big chunk of a retirement income and it's just kind of the facts and the reality that people have to live with?
A little bit of both, depending upon your situation. But where we have to start is here are all the income sources that you have. Maybe you have a pension, you have Social Security, you have some investable assets, and you think about how are we going to maximize all of these from an income standpoint, but then we think about other strategies we can incorporate that can make the most of the income, like if you can figure out strategies to pay $250,000 less in taxes over the course of your retirement, well, that almost pays for the $300,000 right there. If the decision on Social Security, one decision that you make is $100,000 less lifetime income from Social Security than this decision, well, that's $100,000 that can go towards offsetting that cost as well. I mean, if we look at Social Security and you add up the monthly benefits you could receive over the course of your projected retirement, it could be $750,000 to over $1 million. So it's a big deal. Even if you have a starting retirement portfolio of $500,000 or $5 million, it's a big deal. And it can go a long ways. If you maximize those sources, it can go a long ways to help pay for the healthcare. Thank you for watching this clip of Retiring Today, and don't forget to subscribe. If you have questions about your retirement plan, take advantage of the complimentary 15-minute retirement checkup phone call.